What is pussy popping, you beautiful humans? My name is Ariane Andrew,
I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to another piping hot episode of Sippin' the Tea, where we want, girl.
where we sip the tea and I guess.
Spill that.
Oh, you left me hanging. Rude.
Girl, listen, where's your little sidekick today?
You sleep in her little bed right here. Where's your side?
Same. So today's guest kind of personifies what our show's title and the evolution of what sipping that tea and dropping some bombs, but it's his personal story that I love, that evolution and arc. Mr. Perez Hilton, what is poppin'? How you doing, man?
I am really well because, well, I don't know when this is going to air, but right now, when I'm finished with this, I am taking my kids to the movies. And it might seem like such a small thing, but this is the first weekend that movie theaters are open in Los Angeles in a year. And I used to love taking my kids to the theater. And actually, the last thing that we did before lockdown was go to a movie. My kids' school went into lockdown on Tuesday, March 10th was the last day they had in-person learning. And on Monday, March the 9th, we went to a movie. We went to see a Disney film. We went to the premiere of Mulan. So today we're going to go see Disney's Raya movie. And they're so excited. And I'm also excited not just to go back, but it'll be the first time ever that I'm taking my 3-year-old to the movies. So it's a especially exciting outing for us.
That's a big deal. And to think about that in like the levity of life and what we've all kind of gone through, holy crap.
No, legit. I mean, it's like the little things in life now that we're like, oh, I'm so excited to go get dinner. I'm so excited to go to a movie. All the things that we definitely, I think, took for granted, but now it's like a luxury to have. Which, speaking of, because we are on this topic, 2020 was a very, very interesting year for all of us. And we want to focus on the positive, though. So, looking back at 2020, what is some takeaways that you had that you experienced with your career and personally that you're like, you know what? This is what, I see the positivity in this.
Well, my career was a roller coaster last year. I had some big highs. I started off the year strong, appearing on a television show that aired all over Australia. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Australia. And I ended the year strong, releasing my memoir. But that in between section was awful. I have a podcast as well, and I have been blessed to earn a living from the podcast, and I keep it so 100 always. Maybe most people wouldn't reveal all of this. There were months last year where we weren't making any money on my podcast. And we went from making a real good amount to making nothing on the podcast. And it wasn't just me, it was a lot of other of my top podcaster friends. And some of them even they stopped their podcasts. But I've been doing mine for 6 years now. And even though we weren't making money doing it, I still enjoyed doing it with my co-host. And the audience is the most loyal. And I'm thankful that we kept it up because thankfully now in 2021, things are looking up again. But yeah, it was all over the place. And we weren't just dealing with the pandemic. I think so many of us want to forget, but we were also dealing with Donald Trump, and that was a lot to deal with. I did an interview yesterday talking about how the pandemic changed celebrity coverage. And I would say it didn't change it that much, but what it did do was it helped create a whole bunch of new social media stars that only came to prominence in the wake of the pandemic because a lot more people were home and were able to, spend more time on social media. But Donald Trump changed celebrity coverage way more than the pandemic ever did, because for 4 years, I was covering Donald Trump regularly like a Kardashian, because that's what he was and is.
Yes.
And now he's not in the public consciousness anymore, and he's been deplatformed. And even when he appears, he spoke at a conservative convention, and many of the networks didn't even broadcast it. So now we're in a period of readjusting, and as it always happens, everything is like this. And I'm excited to see where we end up.
It's an interesting, when you think of it like that, he definitely shook that shit up, and there was left and right and some faces that are still hanging around, like that Candace Owens chick that I can like, can you go away please, dear? And it's like a lot of people that I'm like, whoa, but he definitely, it's interesting how the click of a finger though, he's just like, people aren't covering anymore. And I think that's fascinating. I love that.
Me too. I was saying to a friend, or actually not even a friend, it was that journalist. Who was she even with? I don't even remember. She wanted to interview me. Whatever. Some, they're doing a profile, not on me, but on celebrity coverage and how it changed over the last year. And I said, Donald Trump was good for my business, but I think awful for America. And I am sincere when I say I'm glad he's no longer around, even though he was really bad for my mental health. Like, yes, he was good for business, but he was not good for my mental health.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm literally laughing at like going down a rabbit hole, reading all the bullshit on him I think he was bad consensually across the board.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing I will say about that though is like, I mean, I didn't even in this little politic thing, is that it created a space to be like, you know what, if someone can become the president of the United States, I can fucking be Black Superwoman, okay? Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, in a sense, though, it's like, yeah, you have all this negativity, but it's like, well, if someone who was like a celebrity, figure was able to become our president, the sky literally has no fucking limit. So it's kind of like touching on like people you would have never seen before. It's now giving an opportunity in a positive and negative way to be like, you know what? I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. I mean, and I guess I can go either way. Like that can be really negative or it can be very positive.
Yeah.
That's facts. That's facts. So I know, listen, a lot of people know you, they know your history, they know that. I want to take it back to the young man from Miami though, and how you personally started. Were you fascinated by pop culture, celebrity? Because was that even a thing when you were younger? Because I feel like you kind of pioneered that in the beginning. So what was it that started this journey into this social media coverage world for you personally? Like, what was the first memory you can think of that was like, this is what I'd like to do?
So, we talked about how 2020 was a roller coaster professionally, but it was even more so personally. And I'm thankful that it broke me, but didn't destroy me. You can always repair something that's been broken. If it's destroyed, you can't fix that. It broke me and pushed me back into therapy and into making very positive, long-lasting life changes to be happier. And now that I'm back in therapy, it's fascinating because I almost wish that I had gotten back into therapy before I wrote my memoir, because I now have even more understanding of my life and all of the, not all clearly, but and a lot of the decisions and choices that I've made. And to answer your question, I actually think that the world of celebrity and pop culture saved me. Because as I wrote about in my memoir, my dad died when I was just 14 years old. And when you're that young and you experience a death that is unexpected, that was sudden, he died of an aneurysm, poof, he was gone. At that age, I didn't have the tools to cope. And my mother didn't have the tools to cope, and she didn't have the wherewithal to say, well, I don't have the tools to help guide him through this. Maybe I should get him and myself into therapy. They didn't do that. Back it was the 90s, and I come from a Cuban family. Latinos, like the British royal family, we don't do therapy. The British royal family doesn't do therapy either. In 2020, much less the 90s, when Princess Diana was going through all of the similar things. And what I did for myself, I wouldn't even, to heal, but also just to escape, was I drowned myself in television in an unhealthy way. But because I was doing so well in school, that's the only thing my mom cared about. She did not care that I would come home from school, not do any physical activity, not have any extracurricular interests, not have any friends, and I would turn the television on as soon as I got home from school, and I would not go to bed until 1 or 1:30 in the morning. I wish that she would have stressed the importance of getting sleep, because now one of the changes that I've made since 2020 is I've really prioritized sleep. I've never had trouble sleeping, but I would never make it a priority, and I would never allow myself to sleep because I gotta work. There's too much work. I gotta work. There's too much to do. I gotta work. But I feel like my life is just so much happier now that I'm getting more sleep. But on the flip side, maybe because I never valued sleep that much and I didn't need it when I was younger, that definitely helped me in the come up years when I was grinding and hustling. I hustled so hard. And when I talk to not even young people, when I talk to anybody who wants to accomplish something and they haven't yet, I tell them, if you really want to succeed, you need to have an unhealthy obsession with that goal. And not everybody is that hungry. Not everybody is willing to put in 16 hours a day working, where I would sleep for almost 17 years. I would get maybe 4.5, 5 hours of sleep a night for almost 2 entire decades. And, I would have the occasional fun, but I'm not exaggerating when I was saying that my average day was spent at least 12 to 13 hours working. And then I'd work out and then do some other things, but it was it consumed me. But it worked. I was able to achieve a lot. And I have my parents to thank for that, because, my mom did not instill the importance in me in getting a lot of sleep. So I would just work. But what they did also do, my mother and my father, was, they're both Cuban immigrants, and they programmed me from as early as I could remember, however young I was, the importance of not just working hard, but working harder than everybody else. And that's something that I really work on instilling in my children. And we've already had these conversations. I said, all of my kids, and every once in a while I'll bring it up and I tell them, I will love you and support you no matter what, ... with one exception. And that one exception is you cannot be lazy. You don't have to be as driven as me. I was a psycho, but you can't be lazy. And I get it. Maybe not all of my kids will want to be incredibly successful. Maybe they'd be happy being a barista at Starbucks. fine. But I want you to be the best barista. I don't want you to just be any barista. I want you to start coming up with cocktails, to start inventing drinks and catch the eye of your manager. And then I want them to promote you because you invented so many brilliant concoctions. Like, that's what I want for my kids.
I appreciate that so much. I think that, I mean, you say unhealthy, like the obsession part of it. I've lived my life, and I know Ariane is like distinctly like that, because I believe like literally somebody else is right behind your tail, ready to like catch it in and take it. But I also believe that that's what cemented you on your path, being able to like dig in deep and be at the coffee bean at 5:30 in the morning and like get that process started. I think, I mean, yeah, I don't think if you didn't live your life like that back then, you probably wouldn't have had the scope of that career. But and you're still living too, so thank God now you got your sleep factor down.
Yeah, and what I tell young people, especially because, you know, I did not grow up with social media. I am a dinosaur. Young people.
Listen, that makes us all dinosaurs. So welcome.
MySpace was the poppin' thing growing up.
So, you know, young people, they've only known social media their whole lives. And a lot of things have changed with social media over the last 10, 15, 20 years. But one thing has remained the same, which is the speed at which things can happen. You can become an overnight meme, viral within hours. And while you may be able to luck your way into success, you will not sustain success without an incredible work ethic. And there's a lot that comes with that. It's not just putting in the work hours, it's reinventing. It's doing things differently. That's also part of the work ethic. It's engaging with people. Like, one of the things that shocks me that so many of these popular young influencers don't do is they don't engage that much with their followers. And I get it. For some of them, they're very sensitive and social media can be very toxic. But I feel like I need to give them a master class on how to handle hate, because they need to, early on in their careers, learn how to compartmentalize, process, and not let that affect them, so that they can continue to foster this very special and important relationship with their followers. Because I'm the exception to the rule. I've been doing what I do for 17 years now, and I'm the most transparent person. I'm not hot like I used to be, but I'm still here.
You're an you've done the load of work though. You're the brick and mortar of what they're sitting on top of, I would say, and that's not blowing smoke up your ass.
No, but in many ways, I'm bigger than social media. Like, I am internationally known, and people like just this more, and one of the reasons too is I still say yes to things. Like, early this morning, I say yes to things that most people would say no to. So here's two examples. Early this morning, this conservative, like Fox News type of station called Newsmax.
Oh, I know. Yes.
They said they wanted to chat with me, and I said yes. And actually, it was fine.
Okay.
It wasn't awful. And last week, BuzzFeed, they wanted to do a profile on me, and I knew it was a hit piece. So most people would not have agreed to do it, but I did. You know why? Because the people who dislike me, they're just going to dislike me more. And the people who do like me already, anything that they read, they already know, and it's not going to make them all of a sudden dislike me. I own my stuff, you know, I own my mistakes. I don't hide from things that I did wrong back in the day. Although, and I feel, I apologize if I'm taking over your own podcast.
This is what this
I'm
is
a talker.
No, this is what about is like we are taking in the tea. You were
I'm
so
literally sitting here, very. Bring it on.
You know, just this week or whenever you recently, this Black journalist was hired to be the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine, Teen Vogue, and she resigned after a mutiny internally when a lot of the journalists there discovered that, I forget how long ago, like I think a decade ago or so.
It was 11 years.
11 years ago, this young woman at the time, she was 16, I believe. She's 27 now. So a dumb 16-year-old said dumb, hurtful, offensive, racist, and racist towards Asian people and homophobic things. I do believe that people can grow and learn from their mistakes. How long is that woman going to keep paying for dumb, offensive, hurtful things that she did when she was 16? Or even me, you know, I said and did a lot of dumb, hurtful things when I was in my 20s. I am now in my 40s. But many people, maybe it almost seems to me like the majority of people want to see me continue to pay for those mistakes. They want to see me suffer.
But let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Because of your mentality and because you've been in the public eye and with so much hate, like how do you deal with that? Like you talk about, you know, the younger generation of how like you could do a class on how to, you got to push that to a side. Like how do you
Here you go.
With that? Because they do say if you have haters, you're doing something correctly. But at the end of the day, we're human. Let's be honest. Just like you were honest about doing therapy, all these things. How do you personally deal with that? Because at the end of the day, let's be real. There are times I'm sure things like that do bother you because you are a human. You're not a robot.
Wonderful question. And I like to view hate I view comments in terms of currency. So let me give you an example that could apply to just about anybody. Okay. Let's say, which happened, you know, in quarantine for the first 3 months, I gained 42 pounds in 3 months. I did not handle things well. I was killing myself. I was overeating and I barely drink in my normal life. I went from barely drinking to drinking every single day and overeating. That took a lot of effort, 42 pounds in 3 months. I feel like I'm in good shape now. And I'm back to not even back to my old self. I'm this new version of me and happy version of me. So let's say, let's say I post a shirtless photo to like, you know, feel good and share the progress that I've made. So I post that picture on Instagram. If somebody leaves a comment saying, "Oh, Perez, you look great," that's a $1 comment. But if somebody says, "You look disgusting, you make me want to vomit," that's a $100 comment. I obviously appreciate the other comment more, but the $100 comment is worth more to me because two things are going to happen. If somebody's scrolling and they see a comment, "Oh, you look great," they'll keep scrolling. But if somebody's scrolling and they see a comment like, "How disgusting, you make me want to vomit," the people who also hate me will agree with that person and comment and chime in. And then the people who like me will be offended by that comment and chime in and defend me. So it will all ultimately only help me and get me more engagement, which at the end of the day, as a content creator, that's all I care about.
That's the unique way to look at that.
That is definitely a unique way. But my question is, does it bother you personally?
No, not at all. Because also you have to look at it not that somebody who doesn't view it this way is illogical, but a hyper, let me say it this way, a hyper logical way of looking at things is if your mother says you're a piece of garbage, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But if a complete stranger that you don't know says you're a piece of garbage, you're a stranger.
The
Why
levity of
should I
that,
care?
yeah, that's true.
That is
That's very true.
That is so true. But it's funny though, because as humans, we do gravitate to negativity. Because I know for me personally, if I see someone say something at my first, I can see all the great comments, but I want to respond back to that person because it just
Sometimes.
sometimes, but I'm like, why am I giving that person effort? Because typically that person who's talking shit, it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. You know,
They're still on your shit, watching your shit. So I guess in a way, it's like, yeah, you gotta like just dust it off sometimes a little bit. I want to take it quickly back to the concept of like paying for those sins that you were talking about. Like how long is too long, and the Teen Vogue thing, even like of late. And I know you have strong opinions and stuff. Like for me, like the Piers Morgan stuff and the Sharon Osbourne and all this like comments and like this change in the timing of feels like sometimes a cycle of that conversation falls into things and people's past comes up. When do you think it's too long, too long? Like this Teen Vogue girl that was so long ago. And I'm like, this cancel culture, I'm like, how far do our minds have to go back to be like, I'm gonna ruin your life, I'm gonna wreck you. No,
I
you can
think
you're a person.
I am championing and encouraging a new movement.
Bring it.
And I give credit where credit is due. I did not come up with this. I read this recently, and it was something that Nick Cannon said. He said, not cancel culture, but counsel culture. Meaning, instead of trying to cancel people, let's try to counsel them. Let's try to come at things from a place of counseling, educating, helping, instead of tearing people down.
Yeah, I think that's great. I just
and also two things.
Yeah,
people are hypocrites. Okay,
correct.
because the ones throwing stones and the most righteous are oftentimes the biggest culprits themselves. You know, I look at a lot of the conversation recently about Britney Spears, and while I think that the media has changed a bit, I don't know if people have changed that much, to be honest, because I think on 2020 and Kanye West had some very public episodes.
Sure did.
And the majority of people on social media were not leading with empathy and compassion. They were mocking, cruel, judgmental, hurtful. So how could you, on one hand, be like, oh, the media treated Britney so poorly, and then on the other hand, go treat Kanye West so poorly? That makes no sense to me.
It doesn't.
And the second thing, you know, people are also very shallow, extremely shallow. For example, I honestly don't, I think the only way for me to be able to move on is, and I don't know if I'll be able to get this. I'm kind of, it's like my pie in the sky. This is like my big wish that may never come true. If all of a sudden, like let's say, I don't know, Ryan Murphy or Greg Berlanti or Tyler Perry reaches out to me and says, hey, I want you to be a part of a sitcom that I'm creating. And the sitcom premieres, and I'm playing a character that's lovable. And that show is a global sensation. It can't just be on TV because there's too much TV. It needs to be an undeniable mega monster hit like Glee was or Modern Family was. If I was able to be on something like that, then my past would not be forgotten, but people would let me be living in the present and would let me be seen for who I am today. Or if I like got a talk show and people really got to know who I truly am now, not just thinking of me through the filter of the past. But having said all that, you know, like I've been canceled 1,000 times and I'm still here.
There's the answer.
Or, you know, you look at Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Chris Brown was canceled.
He really was.
And even though he was canceled, he's still around. And not only is he still around, he still gets played on the radio.
Yeah.
So he was canceled and he still gets the cosign of the man.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier with like your work ethic and resiliency, because when you decide to be in the public eye, no matter what angle you're coming from, you are putting yourself into a position to be judged, for people to hate you, to people to love you. And I feel like if you can continue to be resilient and be like, I'm going to continue doing this no matter if I've been canceled 1,000 times, those are the true people who I feel like stay around and continue to rise to the top, because you have to have that drive. You know what I mean? You can't just like, oh, well, someone talked shit about me, let me go hide under a rock. I mean, that's the difference between people who have continued to soar and people who you've forgotten about, who got canceled and you're like, oh, damn, like Stacey Dash.
And you've evolved, but you've also evolved and gone global and used your global reach to take yourself, the Big Brothers, the celebrity in the jungle thing, and like you've gone, and I think a lot of people, you know, you've been consistent, and that's the thing. So you're like, I think that's a good point though. Like you mentioned, like the reinvention stuff. You definitely reinvented many.
Yeah, and that's so important. And not everybody has that in them. For example, I'll give you two polar opposites. There is this YouTube creator that I know, that I like, that I would consider a good acquaintance. Her name is Glozell Green. Do either of you know Glozell?
I do, and she was, I know a little bit about her story.
Yeah,
but
she was really massive on YouTube. And okay, estoy trabajando, mi amor. Sale. Okay, estoy trabajando, mi amor.
And there's fatherhood for you, children.
Mi amor, sale la puerta. Glozell was very popular, had over 4 million subscribers on YouTube. And like I said, you know, the shelf life of an influencer is not that long for many reasons. People grow up, get bored of you, the algorithm changes, a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And even with 4 million subscribers, she has not been able to sustain. And now she's broke and has a podcast about how she's broke and things are tough for her. On the flip side, you have people like Logan Paul and Jake Paul.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of theirs, but they have, and I'm not saying they're smart, but they have the smarts to work the media and to keep reinventing and to keep themselves being talked about, which is something that I have and something that Donald Trump has too. Donald Trump, not smart, but he is media savvy. You can be media savvy and have that kind of smarts and be a moron, which Donald Trump is.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting point. I used to love Glozell, but I was like, damn, girl, what happened? Like, where'd you go? So interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it going back though, I just have to say though, with, what is it? Is it Logan Paul? Which one is the one who's doing the boxing?
They're both boxing now.
Oh, they're both boxing. But think about that. Like, that's a whole different lane. It's like,
yeah,
about taking what you have and constantly reinventing and being like,
I'll pay that to them. Listen, they're good at that, but I'm like, I don't get the hype, I don't get the thing, but I'll give it to them.
And they're making a ton of money.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna give it to them.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm gonna throw the gauntlet down right here on Sippin' the Tea. I am challenging Jeffree Star to a wrestling match. The gays don't box, but I'll wrestle him.
All right.
I'll destroy him too. I'll win that so easily.
Done.
Then after that, you have to get in the ring with me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I actually did I've been doing this for 17 years. I've done everything. In 2012, I was on an episode of WWE Raw on Divas Night, and I wrestled with the Divas. It was so fun.
Oh, damn.
The Bella Twins and I.
Okay, yeah, so that's before my time, before I was there. See, I didn't even know that.
Now you know.
A lot. That's probably you've got multiple issues of your book to do. You should.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so Perez, what's next? I mean, now we're in 2021. You know, we definitely, like we said, was on a roller coaster ride in 2020. So what's next for you? What's the reinvention for yourself?
You will see that. I expect.
Spill the tea.
I'm like, hang on a minute.
Within, I'm hoping the goal is sometime in May.
Okay.
So I can come back on your show and tell you more about that then. But it's something that I've never done before, that I'm passionate about. I think there's a need for it. And yeah, that's all I'll say right now.
Oh, my brain is tick, 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 tick. Okay. Something he's never done before. That makes it very difficult because he's done a lot. So it's like,
I know. I've done a lot.
Think about. That's interesting to think about. I do want to ask one question before we get into the rapid fires, because I have a strong opinion about it, and it's less about I want to get your take on a hot buzz topic with the royals, with the Meghan Markle. I've read a little bit about your say, but I'm also like just the concept of like bringing down the firm and all of that. What's your take on, UK has been very good to you in terms of that, and for me, I'm Australian, so I feel like the UK is enriched in that culture. I'm not saying there's no rate. I'm not saying that half of the shit she said isn't true, but I want to just get your take on what, do you think the royal culture will be able to be changed? Quite frankly, because I'm not sure it will ever.
Yeah. I think a lot of things. I think that you are absolutely able to and should speak your truth.
Yes.
However, and I have learned this the hard way, I think family is sacred. Even if there's a couple of distinctions. Mm-hmm. To me, they described a dysfunctional family. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's necessarily, and I think that they would agree with this. I don't think they would describe the British royal family as toxic. Dysfunctional, yes. Toxic, no. So if you have a toxic family, then I absolutely understand cutting ties with them. Because, unfortunately, fine. That happens with some families. Yeah. But a lot of families are dysfunctional. And I've learned this the hard way. They claim, Prince Harry himself said he wants to make things better with his family, but yet he's doing things that's making things worse with his family.
Like this.
They could have shared their truth and spoken about the media. They could have shared their truth and spoken about the institution and made it about that. But they also made it personal, and they made it about the family as well.
In a big way.
Yeah. So I almost wish they would have tried to fix and deal their family issues as a family privately, because what they did in a similar way, they sort of did what Meghan Markle's father has done to her, which she claims has been so hurtful.
That's what I thought. That's my opinion. Grain of salt, but that's what I thought. I was like, you basically put a bomb in there and did that. Maybe in a more eloquent way, perhaps, but there's no difference between the two.
I don't doubt them. I believe what they're saying. But they, like I said, and I'm not even saying they shouldn't have done the interview. They could have and should do the interview and clarify, that didn't happen. been a smear campaign. It's been so hurtful. I was suicidal. We were trapped, all of those things, and make it about the media and the institution. But when they really made it about and revealed personal things like, oh, my father stopped taking my calls, or there's space between me and my brother. Like,
yeah, it's an interesting dissection of that for sure.
Yeah.
Woo.
So.
Tea is always being spilled.
The tea is hot. One more question. How's your mother? Because I think she's the icon of the hill. Come on now. I used to love watching like your videos. It's so Sherry. How is she? Good health? All well?
She's getting better. She is in good health, thankfully.
Yeah.
You know, last year was really hard for her too, and she's really high risk. And you know, I'm trying to get her to get out of the house more. I got her to go outside and make a silly dance video with me today, so that was good.
Say little things.
Yes. I really
things.
Appreciate them.
I like that. Ari, you want to kick things off, girl?
With the rapid fire.
Let's go with a quick rapid, honey.
So let's make it rapid. So the first thing that comes to mind, okay? We don't need a storybook because we get
like I got a movie to go to. Let's go.
Let's get it. Okay, so if your house is on fire, what are 2 things that you're grabbing?
My children, physical things or anything?
I would say I don't know. I always feel bad asking a question when he has like more than 2 children though.
Yeah, my children, I will lump together my children and my mother.
Cool. Here we go.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Mind control.
Ooh. I like.
Okay, name one fact like a fun fact no one knows about.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm such an open book. All right, nobody knows about it because it hasn't happened yet. And I was talking to my therapist about it. But it's like, whatever, it's not even that exciting. My birthday is coming up, and, you know, I think I've really grown and matured and not even calmed down, but like accepted things slowing down. I used to hate calm. I used to hate quiet. I used to hate relaxing. Now I go on a walk every day and I'm accepting these things and learning to like them, but I'm still feisty. So for my birthday, I made a very naked video that I'm going to post. So nobody knows that yet.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
Like a silly thirst, not even a thirst trap. It's more like, it's my birthday. I'm in my birthday suit. You know.
I mean, that's some self-love. You're gonna do what's right for you, man.
But I know it's gonna piss people off because I did it in my hot tub and I did it in one take. And I was questioning it because I loved it. And I'm like, should I do a second take? Because I did it from the side and then I went underwater. And when I'm underwater, you can't see anything, but it's real close. And I'm like, wow, this is like really pushing it. Should I do a second take? And I'm like, no, screw it. I love this so much. It's like, I got it in one take. And so there you go. I couldn't believe I didn't show anything.
If there was nothing shown in one take, then you should not retake that.
I didn't, but it was real close. When I got underneath the water, it's like, oh, you almost saw something. And I know I'm going to get so much hate for it. I know. Here's another thing.
Valid comments. That's something I'm learning.
But no, not even that. This is where I'm also crazy and stupid. Not only am I going to get hate comments, I know this. I'm going to lose followers. And I hate losing followers, but I'm also crazy and I want to do that and it makes me happy and I'm going to do it.
You got to, at the end of the day, you got to do what fucking makes you happy, period. No matter what people say. That's what I've learned. Happiness is key. Happiness is key.
Word. And I'm doing it.
And live your best motherfucking life. Okay.
I love that. This has been, whenever your secret project drops, we're going to have you back because I could keep talking for hours. It's been truly like special.
Yeah, so we know
that keep in touch because I want to let everybody know about it.
We will. Ari, outro us out.
Yeah, so for people who are living under a rock and don't know who you are, let everybody know where they can follow you at, listen to your podcast, get the book, the whole nine, spill the tea.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are, or watching, chances are you enjoy podcasts. I have one that I think is really good. It's called the Perez Hilton Podcast with Chris Booker. You can hear it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or directly at perezpodcast.com. You can pick up my new memoir either in print or the audio version narrated by me at perezhiltonbook.com. And I'm all over social media. The website is at Perez Hilton in most socials. And I'm personally the Perez Hilton on most socials. So one's just mainly celebrity focused. And I still do a lot of celebrity stuff because I'm passionate about it, but I also pepper it in with, you know, my kids, my mom, wellness, dating, I've been chronicling my therapy sessions with my therapist, sharing like insights that I'm learning and hoping that could inspire and help people. So follow both. And thank you guys so much.
Yes. And where can everybody follow you at, Matt?
You can follow me at Matt Dillon 1983. And what about you, sister?
You guys can follow me across the board at Ariane Andrew. And of course, follow Sippin the Tea at Sippin the Tea TV Show on Instagram and on Twitter at Sippin the Tea TV1. And of course, if you're listening, make sure you subscribe and share with all your fellow beautiful humans. But we will catch you guys same time, same place of another episode of Sippin the Tea TV Show.
Bam.